Ladies and gentlemen, welcome once again to the Packernet Podcast. I am your host and resident fanalist, as always, Ryan Schlipp. Check us out online, packernet.com. Find me on Twitter, pack_daddy. First and foremost, if there's any confusion as to what happened to the schedule, why did the regular show come out at 10 at night last night or whatever, I don't know. I honestly don't know. My son asked me if you were done with the podcast. I was like, yeah, I'm done. And he said, okay. And I was like, oh, let me just make sure everything's posted. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't think I posted the Packernet After Dark episode. Let me do that. And in the 10 o'clock slot was already an episode. It was not Packernet After Dark, and it was the show that should have been out at 4 a.m. So I stared at it for a while. I contemplated what possibly could have happened. Couldn't think of anything. And just said, screw it. I don't know what I can do at this point. So that After Dark episode I will post tonight. And we should be back on schedule, I guess. I don't know. I've never had that happen before. I don't know what happened. My brain is deteriorating at a rapid rate here. Anywho, we have practice. We're back to practice. Thank goodness. So we'll go through Matt LaFleur's comments. We'll go through the practice. Today, it looks like is going to be a heavier practice. Of course, I wasn't yawning at all. Once I start speaking, all of a sudden, the yawning attacks happen. So excuse that. But heavy practice today, walkthrough tomorrow, which is not open to the media or public. So that should be a free day for us to kind of talk about a couple other topics, not regarding practice or whatever. Possibly 53. I keep promising that, and then something comes up. Maybe that would be a good day. We'll see. And then heavy day on Tuesday is what Matt LaFleur said. Kind of skipping ahead, but it's relevant. But all right. So going through a couple Matt LaFleur. Oh, well, it's a Matt LaFleur comment, but also it is news that we should talk about. Kyron Drones, the Packers QB4, was released. Part of me felt bad because, again, you could say he didn't handle his opportunities well. That's fine, but his opportunities were rough, man. He had a real rough go of it. With that said, I think it's absolutely the right thing to do for everybody. It's one of those situations where it's going to be good for him. Hopefully, I mean, he may not get picked up somewhere else, but I hope he does for his sake. Hopefully, he'll get a look somewhere else. Because his time here doesn't make any sense. Kyle McCord has separated himself to such a degree, it's a joke. Which means, what do we know? We know that McCord is not going to be... I was going to say he's going to be our 3. I can't promise that. I don't know if this is even being questioned by anybody, so I'll at least leave that option open of being a number 2. I've said before, I don't think that's going to happen. But the bottom line is we have our starter, we have our number 2, and we have our sort of practice squad person. Although I will say, if there was a chance that McCord was going to be the number 2, we are not going to put Tyrod Taylor on the practice squad. That's never going to happen. So that probably works against that theory, because if that was going to happen, or if there was even a possibility, then McCord would be the number 2, and then Tyrod Taylor would end up being cut, and then we don't have a practice squad quarterback. That would be the place where Kyron Drones would step in. Now, to be fair, there's a good chance, if it hasn't happened already and I missed it, that we will pick up another quarterback for competition's sake. But there's also a chance we won't, because we kind of have this all settled. And the other benefit to this for us is the fact that we don't have to, no offense, Drones, but waste snaps on Drones. So we can give extra time to Tyrod Taylor, who needs it because he's going to be our backup and needs to get a lot of work in, and also Kyle McCord, who needs it, who's going to be our practice squad quarterback, give him some opportunities in the system, and then, again, very potentially, there's just news that popped up about Zadarius Smith. Browns are expected to sign 3-time Pro Bowler Zadarius Smith. I should say so. That was a pretty horrific performance against the Chicago Bears. That was freaking ugly, man. Kudos to the Bears and all. I'm not trying to take away from the job they did. They did a good job. The only team to score over 30 points, which Of course they did that right after their coach says we're going to be the highest scoring offense, but whatever, it doesn't matter. Getting back to what we're saying, McCord going to need that time for this year, but also, as I've said, very potentially could be moving into that number 2 spot starting next year and maybe for the foreseeable future. Possibly even a flippable candidate if he starts showing enough. Like if he can continue doing what he has done and is the number 2 and maybe steps in for Jordan for a couple plays or games. Hopefully not, but whatever. And could show that he can still do it. I mean, this is how it happened with Malik and some other stuff. I mean, of course you want to keep talented backups, but the better they are, it's kind of like the conundrum with coaches. You want to have really, really good coaches. The problem is if they're too good, they're going to get hired away. So, and actually I saw Drones' name here, so I knew that was coming up as why I mentioned it, but I didn't read the comment yet. Matt LaFleur kind of says a similar thing. LaFleur said it was a numbers crunch that led to Kyron Drones' release. Quote, I thought Kyle McCord went in there and did a really nice job. There are limited reps in every practice, and it's truly hard to get 4 guys ready to play football. So again, to me, this reads as we're trying to have a quarterback battle between McCord and Drones to find out who QB3 is, and McCord dominated that competition. And you could tell they kind of knew going in, considering McCord got a massive amount of time and Drones got a handful of snaps to prove something and spent his whole time scrambling, which, again, not entirely his fault, but it is what it is. We are where we are, and it's time to move on. So I think that all makes sense. By the way, it's not just preseason games. It's practices as well. You know, they have the number 4s go out there with drones and all that stuff. That's now done. So McCord presumably will absorb a lot more. I mean, everybody really will, because that's just time that is not going to be spent doing that. You got your 1, 2, 3, you can go back to 1, whatever. We just don't have to run that anymore. Matt LaFleur says Tyron Hopper has shown the most improvement among linebackers during training camp. Quote, his whole game, I think from coverage, we've always known he's a thumper. He'll come downhill and hit you, but from a coverage aspect. Now, I did actually listen to this interview from Matt LaFleur. This, I've always said, you got to take everything with a grain of salt because it's not unprompted. This was unprompted. I don't remember the exact context, but they were talking about somebody else, and he had kind of said out of nowhere that he thought Tyron Hopper was actually the most improved. Which either way, I mean, that is the context here. It says Tyron Hopper has shown the most improvement among linebackers during training camp. So it's not just a generic positive comment about a random player who was prompted to the coach from a reporter. This is him identifying one specific. Only one person could be at the top, right? But even beyond that, he wasn't even asked about Tyron Hopper, and he brought him up. So pretty excited to hear that. Again, big fan of Tyron Hopper. Didn't really expect much, especially since he's a third-round pick, and he just reminded me so much of. We did this one other time, and I forget exactly who it is I'm thinking of. But I remember taking it might not have been a linebacker, but I think it was. It was third round or possibly even second round, but it was way too early. Everybody thought this was a massive reach. I think it was third round, and it was just like, what are we doing here? And it ended up just being a complete disaster. But I think ever since Tyron Hopper has gotten here, from what I've seen, again, the reason I like Tyron Hopper, it wasn't his college tape necessarily, and maybe it was. I don't remember my position on him. It certainly wasn't because I thought it was going to work out. There's never been a third-round pick that I thought was going to work out. But just since he's been here, what he's been able to show has been, in my opinion, impressive. I mean, since day one, he's always looked good every time he's been out there. So to now hear Matt LaFleur say he's the most improved after having a really solid performance in that preseason game, that's pretty encouraging. What that means for his future, again, I don't know. I think unless they believe he can take that middle linebacker role, I don't know that there's much of a position for him other than being, again, Edgerrin Cooper's backup. But whatever, he's going to be a good Edgerrin Cooper backup then. That's fine. It's better than a bad Zach Tom backup, am I right? And then some very exciting news. It sounds like Tucker Kraft will be back today. He was asked about that, and Matt LaFleur did his kind of signature not really saying anything, just kind of nodding, and then eventually said something to the effect of, I think it was like, I think we'll have a surprise for you today, or you'll be surprised today, or something. Oh, I think you could be in for a treat today, is what it was. Matt LaFleur wants to get Marshawn Lloyd more touches in Denver as he continues to stack healthy days in camp. He said, quote, Marshawn is a guy, he's going to go 1,000 miles per hour. Sometimes he's a back. You do have to have a little patience to let things develop, but I was pleased with his effort. I didn't exactly hear the question, but I think it was kind of questioning what's been buzzing on social media and some of the comments that me and maybe a couple others have made about possibly not making the right decisions. And Matt LaFleur said more or less, I thought he did a good job. And then he kind of caveated that whole thing with that part. So that was the context of saying, he's going a million miles an hour. He's doing all this stuff. And I kind of thought, because again, I'm trying to listen specifically to what exactly is being said. And I'm listening if he's saying, I disagree with that entire sentiment, and I thought he actually made really good decisions. He didn't say that. He kind of started to say something that sounded like that, but he again put in those caveats of, or the excuses of, he's going really fast and he's trying really hard and he's doing all these things and it's hard to be patient. And then he said something to the effect of, but I thought he played with a lot of effort. Okay, so did I. That's not the question. So, either way, again, I still like Marshawn Lloyd. I'm not anti-Lloyd just on one preseason. I'm just making observations, and I think they hold up pretty well. Matt LaFleur praises Jordan Riley for his work coming off his injury, said he's ahead of schedule, said getting him back would be a big bonus. It's an interesting comment. I'm not sure how much to read into that. I suppose that's one of those 53 things. If he's a bubble guy, it may be worth mentioning that. I don't know if he is or isn't. So I know it's a very crowded room, so off the top of my head, I would assume he is not in line to be making the 53. But again, until you do it, you just don't know. Talking about Donovan Jennings, he says he's played under control. I like the edge that he plays with. It's just sometimes you got to temper back a little bit and realize you're not going to get a pancake on every play. And as coaches have kind of said unanimously across the board, they'd rather have to rein players in than tell them to speed up, try to inject more into them. So he's at least on the right side of that. All right, I think that's it for the Matt LaFleur comments. The boys will be coming out soon here to begin practice, so why don't we take a break? We'll be right back. All righty. So a couple of the bits and pieces coming out right now. Anthony Campbell is back practicing, which is great. Campbell went down, was grabbing at his kind of, ankle, shin, knee area. So that was pretty scary because although I think PFF didn't give him a fantastic grade, he certainly made impact plays, that's for sure. Whether he had a great overall game, I don't know. But he's been known to make impact plays, and he continued doing that in the preseason game. But he's good to go. At the very least, he'll be able to continue competing. He's another defensive tackle that's going to be on the outside looking in. Hoping to at least make a practice squad. Oh, good Lord. I'm just seeing injuries, and something just popped up about Christian Watson. I could wait until I get to that point in the notes, but I'm genuinely upset, and I don't want to pretend I don't know that. Christian Watson now on the ground talking to trainers, not sure what happened. Watson down, getting looked at by a trainer, might just be cramps. Please, please, please let it just be cramps. So I'm seeing all the notes all over the place. I think everything's just falling apart. Guys are getting hurt all over the place. This is supposed to be a more physical practice, probably after a couple days off, which is not always the greatest thing to do when you're kind of coming in cold. I'm sure they do a couple jumping jacks or whatever. But anywho, hopefully none of this is massively serious. In addition to Anthony Campbell being back, the other note is that Lucas Van Ness is not practicing. So seemingly the running joke on social media right now is something to the effect of, wow, that must have been a really wild 3 plays that Van Ness had. We also, no, never mind. Those are, so Van Ness joins Bullard and Kennard in the rehab group is what this says. Carrington Valentine out doing individual work. He did that last week and then moved to the rehab group. We'll see if he stays at practice. Kamal Haddon is practicing. He didn't play in the preseason game. Aaron Banks practicing. Let's see if he does team today. Same with Hargrave. It's interesting, and we didn't get a chance to talk about it because we're going right into camp, but we will bring this up tomorrow because it's one of the bigger storylines here. I don't want to get into the deep specifics, but let's just say Matt LaFleur may have lit a fire under Aaron Banks by, and maybe it's just the way that he answered it. It's hard, again, I'm trying to not get into it by getting into it, but it depends how you read those comments. But you could certainly argue that Matt LaFleur, to one degree or another, maybe on a very, very, very small level, maybe to a major level, talked about how Aaron Banks' job is very much up in the air, and it's very much being pushed by guys that are looking very impressive. That's maybe the more extreme end of this, but it is funny those comments just came out, and all of a sudden, for the first time ever, Aaron Banks decides, never mind, I think I want to play football now. You know, maybe this is karma because the Bears had this situation where they brought in a guy and they just never saw him. He was an offensive lineman, and the guy was just hurt all the time. He left when it was time to practice. He would go to another state. Now, he not only was never with the team, he was never in Illinois, basically. And they ended up paying him a big chunk of money. He never played. He ended up getting cut. I think he played a few snaps, but he wasn't very good. Seems that that's exactly what's happening to us here, as best as I can tell with Aaron Banks. So we'll see if he decides to actually suit up and play football. His ouchies are suddenly magically feeling better. I shouldn't say that. It's not fair if the guy's hurt, but whatever. It's a little annoying that miraculously, oh, never mind, I can play. Oh, interesting. So you got a massive paycheck, felt like your job was safe, and you were way too hurt to play. And I will believe that, and that's fine. But then when it becomes clear that your job isn't safe, that exact moment is the moment that you decided that maybe it's not too bad to play. That is a heck of a thing there, huh? Interesting. Josh Jacobs still isn't practicing, but is out there with the team as he recovers from a minor groin injury. Mark Perry is practicing. Got some one-on-one notes here from Andy Herman. He says, Brinson and Ryan with a couple fun one-on-ones. Brinson beat him clean the first rep. Ryan pancakes him the next. Monk gets the better of McClellan on back-to-back reps. Glover gets the better of Crumity. Looks like Sturdivant just hauled in a bomb on the opposite side of the field. Nice rep by Brant Banks versus Oliver. Stackhouse, good push on Wade. Stackhouse with good rushers, rushing 3 on 5. Wiley just beat Oladapo for a touchdown on the opposite side. Great ball from Love. Looks like Jennings missed a call at the line playing center. Dalton Cooper a bit shaken up after a rep, but he's working through it. We got some good battles between Golden and Nixon in 1v1s. Snatch catch up top by Golden on outside in move. Then tight coverage at goal line, and he just misses a great diving catch. Melton with 2 nice grabs versus St. Juice and Haddon also. Nick Neiman is still the personal protector with Chris Brooks back. It's Brooks and Strong as the wings. Looks like the injuries are a shoulder for Van Ness and an ankle for Darian Kennard. Rookie Domani Jackson is out here practicing, getting some work in. We'll see how much he does. Very likely, based on how much time has already gone by, Domani Jackson is going to follow that same path as Colin Oliver and Marshawn Lloyd, etc. The bottom line is this is going to be a redshirt year. He doesn't really have the ability to compete at this point. I mean, you know, there's that 0.0001% chance that he's such an unbelievable freak, he ends up making the team, etc., etc. But generally speaking, what happens at this point, he's a draft pick, so it's unlikely he gets cut. He's going to play to the best of his ability. He's going to show X, Y, Z, but he's starting at ground zero as far as being coached. And a lot of the coaches at this point are starting to turn the corner, preparing the starters for actually playing, not so much babysitting the young guys that don't know what they're doing. those moments are slowly starting to pass, and we're starting to solidify who the starters are and getting them prepared. So that's a bad time for Damani to be coming back. It's still obviously going to be beneficial for him, but I think the thought process is going to be that Damani is going to be put on the back shelf, whether that's as a starter or if they think they can sneak him on practice squad or whatever the case may be. But they'll work with him through the season. He'll be out there for practice, blah, blah, blah. Then he'll have the off season to kind of work on getting stuff together, learning the book a little bit more. With having that year of experience under his belt, it should be a little bit more understandable what the heck I'm actually looking at and what it means. Then next year, ideally, he comes back healthy. He's the guy that we all forget about, but then occasionally talk about, like, oh, don't forget, we got that Damani Jackson kid. We'll see if he's any good, et cetera, et cetera. So I think that's kind of where we're at with Damani Jackson. But it doesn't mean we can't get an opportunity, assuming he comes back now or soon, to get a little glimpse of how things are looking, maybe get a little foreshadowing of what's to come. Javon Bullard is not in a walking boot anymore, so that's good news. I mean, he had already kind of stated that it was not that serious, but it's great to get that update. And here we have confirmation. Tucker Kraft officially starting with the ones. Looks like Brenton Cox is going to come in for Lucas Van Ness at edge, which kind of gives us a little bit of a breakdown of where we're at as far as who, well, I mean, if you start from Micah Parsons, so we got Micah Parsons, then it's Van Ness, then it's Barron Sorrell, then it's Brenton Cox. After that, it's still kind of a question mark. It could be Colin Oliver, it could be Denai Dennis Sutton, we don't know, but we've kind of got the first, I guess, 4 figured out, with 5, and we know who, presumably we know who 5 and 6 are. We don't exactly know the order. I'm kind of hoping it's Denai Dennis Sutton. I don't really know why, other than we had some hope coming into this. I mean, Colin Oliver being good is clearly not a problem, but I hope there's not sort of it's not going great for Sutton thing going on. Just talking out loud, no reason to panic about anything. But here's the full starting lineup. We have Love with Lloyd, Kraft at tight end, just feels so good to say, Golden, Moore, and Watson. The offensive line is Morgan, Burton, Ryan, Monk, and Belton. So, a couple things. Number one, as has basically been established, but we'll keep pointing it out to further solidify this. Belton is the backup right tackle. Also should be noted, Banks is not out there. Now, if Banks comes out on the field, that is unbelievably telling. Yes, you can rotate here and there, whatever, but I mean, if this is your dude, presumably, and he hasn't been out there with you guys, he needs to be with the ones. I am assuming this means Banks is not practicing in the team portion. Either way, it's not great for Banks if he's not out there. But we have Burton, Ryan, Monk on the interior. So, again, we have sort of that Burton-Monk thing. And I will mention, I think the top guard, the guy that they like the most, if I had to guess, I mean, it could just be who's better at right and who's better at left. But remember, there's really only one guaranteed spot open, as, assuming the Belton thing is not really a competition, and that's going to be the right guard, and the question is who's going to be right guard. So my thought is their preferred guard is going to be the one that's playing at right guard. And so far, at least let's just say right now, I don't know the exact count, but right now that's Monk. And again, I don't want to say anything too definitively because I don't know the count, but just from my recollection, it's been a lot of Burton at left, Monk at right. Now, if that's the way that they feel about it, then the competition would technically come down to Burton versus Banks, which is pretty staggering in and of itself because you'd have to assume if Banks was worth the money, he should be better than both of them. If he's not better than Burton, then what that means implicitly is that he's worse than both of them, which is a heck of a thing, which also leads me to believe it's going to be difficult for him to lose this job. On the defensive side, we have Sorrell, Wyatt, Ford, Brooks, Cooper. I don't know if he got that wrong, like the number or what, but we're missing an edge rusher, and then we're putting Cooper on the edge. It's not impossible, but it's just an unusual alignment, I guess. Especially since we had already somebody said Brenton Cox was going to be taking that spot, but whatever. And we'd have Franklin left at linebacker. Cisse and Nixon are your corners, with Williams Oladapo, and X on the field. Hold on. So is this going to be sort of that 3 safety look that we've been hearing all about? Which, by the way, theoretically, we've been seeing it the whole time if you consider Bullard a safety, which I know a lot of the time that has been the alignment of the 3 safeties, which is basically a normal-looking defense, but we're calling a slot guy a safety. But there is another component to that, and maybe Oladapo is just in the slot. I don't know. I'm just reading text. It's hard to see what's actually on the field. But the fact that it's being written this way, as opposed to Cisse, Nixon, and Oladapo, with Williams and McKinney as safety, he must be seeing something look a little different. But again, I don't know. This is a very unusual alignment for the defense, which isn't surprising because it's been an unusual offseason with our defense in terms of seeing a lot of wild and unusual things. Okay, continuing. Early completions to Gold and Reed in team. Now a nice check down to Lloyd on a swing pass that goes for 10. Love did a great job of checking into the first play and catching the defense, hitting Golden for a big gain. Keyshawn Nixon bats down a pass on a cornerback blitz. There's those blitzes again. Love cooking early, hits Watson over the middle for a nice pickup. Williams right there to try and knock it out, but Watson hangs on. Jonathan Ford gives Love a free play, and he takes advantage. Deep down the field to Melton, who makes a twisting and turning catch for a big gain. Cisse in coverage, couldn't find it. So far the first day I've heard that probably the offense is taking control of camp here. Devontae Wyatt all over a run by Strong. St. Juice with the 2s at cornerback. Simpson on the outside. Would not appear Banks, Valentine, D. Jackson, or Hargrave are doing team work. Nice run inside by Jaden Nixon. Taylor to Sturdivant on a crosser for a bunch with Benjamin St. Juice in coverage. Left tackle Jordan Morgan just sprinted inside at the Don Hudson Center, accompanied with a trainer with his helmet off. Again, injuries sound to be a problem today. I did see later he does come back out, so I don't know the extent of the injury. He may be held out of practice for a while, or he may be going right back into teamwork and be fine. But I just want to get that out there now to kind of assuage any, dire predictions of what's going on. I did see that note. A would-be sack on Taylor from Brenton Cox. He won clean. Big reps for him today with Micah, Lucas Van Ness, and Denai Dennis Sutton all out. Oh, okay, so I guess we don't have clarity because Sutton is out. Doesn't look like Mervyn Kenyon is doing team today. Nair had a slight step on BSJ, but Taylor went a bit outside, and Nair can only get his fingertips on a diving attempt. And we officially have our first scuffle of camp. Zaire Franklin and Chris Brown, who returned to team today. That wouldn't be Brown, that would be Brooks. Zaire Franklin and Chris Brooks got into a fight. Ryan Wood says Zaire Franklin and Chris Brooks go at it on the ground after an inside zone to Marshawn Lloyd, 2 hard-nosed veterans tussling. Kamal Haddon returns to team, gets put in with the 1s and the nickel, and immediately has a nice pass breakup. He's fired up, nice. Packers trying anything to get the run game going, and so far it's not working. Love to Kraft, finally got that in the books. Comes against Cooper, and Kraft strains for yards after the catch. Golden beat Nixon clean off the line of scrimmage and had a good step on Nixon. Nixon catches up, but clear pass interference on the ground. Big play for the offense. For what it's worth, has been all Nixon with the 1s so far. Wyatt all over another run play. Taylor to Hilton. Hilton has some juice. Jalen Simpson really struggled in the game, but his very strong camp continues as he picks off Tyrod Taylor deep on a go route to Prather. Good pressure up the front on a blitz forced Taylor to get rid of it. Well, good for Jalen Simpson. I mean, it's pretty much extremely low percentage chance for him, but he's doing everything he can. Tyrod Taylor makes a fantastic spinning one-handed catch on a bad snap by Barrett, finds Nixon on a little mini screen that goes for a solid gain. Stackhouse and Kelly meet at McCord for a pressure. Finally, a solid hole for Martinez. He picks up some nice yards inside. Belton currently at left tackle with Zach Tom at right tackle. Currently do not see Jordan Morgan. We'll keep you posted. We already kind of found out what happened there. It is interesting, and I know they've got a bunch of injuries now at the tackle position, but I wouldn't be surprised with Drones leaving if the move is to go out and get an offensive lineman. Because if we're at the situation where when our left tackle goes down, we have to move our right tackle to left tackle and bring Zach Tom back, who we don't want playing right now, that's a situation they don't want to be in. So they're going to have to, unless somebody's coming back soon, I'm guessing they're going to have some kind of depth at tackle. Brandon Cisse all over and out to Watson. Couldn't tell if it was a pass breakup or a drop, but incomplete either way. Wouldn't have gone anywhere even if he caught it. Cisse all over a corner out to Golden and picks Love. Oh, baby. Phenomenal play by the rookie. Golden a bit shaken up after the play, but seems fine. Oh, don't do that to me. Wes Hodkowitz says underthrow out to Golden, and Cisse makes a heck of a play to pick off the pass while going to the ground. Jalen Simpson now is very close to having his second interception of the day. Would have been a one-handed leaping snag, just couldn't quite pull it in. Simpson has been such an intriguing watch this summer. Now we get to that note that I had seen earlier. Christian Watson now on the ground talking to trainers, not sure what happened. So Van Ness is out today. Morgan is currently MIA. Watson down, getting looked at by a trainer. Obviously not fantastic. Sturdivant catches a crosser and probably would have extended it for 43 yards for a touchdown. Jalen Simpson having a day, would-be sack on a nickel blitz on McCord. Watson looks okay, but Golden walking around with a noticeable limp after that pick by Cisse, currently getting taped up. Wonderful. In red zone, McCord hits Swinson for a touchdown twice. Andy Herman says successful 2-minute drive by McCord in the threes that goes the length of the field for a touchdown and 2-point conversion, so presumably Swinson caught both of those. Wes Hodkowitz does clarify that Kelly would have sacked McCord on that 2-point conversion. All right, now we got Andy Herman with the full breakdown of the 2-minute drill. This is for the ones, so Love, etc. Down 7, 1:30 left, one timeout, ball on their own 35, 1st and 10. Love to read for 7, clock ticks. Love to read for about 7 more, clock ticks. Ball on the opposing 45. Love to Watson for 4, clock ticks, timeout. Ball on the 41, 2nd and 10, 48 seconds left, no timeouts. Golden in, beautiful. And Watson just caught one, so great signs there. Burton beat clean by Love. Oh, I'm sorry, I was like, that sentence makes no sense. Burton beat clean, but Love complete to Moore, 1st down, clock ticks. Love deep to Golden, no chance, Cisse great coverage. 24 seconds left, 2nd and 10, ball on the 28. Love rollout picked by Oladapo, his second pick of the day. So I don't know if that's a mistake or if we just missed the other pick by Oladapo. But that is back-to-back 2-minute drills where Jordan Love threw a pick. I'm going to hold off on that second pick of the day until I get some other confirmation. Either way, good play by Oladapo. I mentioned, I think yesterday, how it really feels like he's been slipping down the depth chart. I've not seen hardly anything positive about Oladapo, especially with a bunch of other guys stepping up in that preseason game and whatnot. So a pick by Oladapo is definitely something he needed. Going to omit second pick of the day until I get second confirmation on that. Yeah, Ryan Wood says Katan Oladapo with a second pick on Jordan Love today, unless he means the pick is the second. Love tried to thread a tight window out, and Oladapo, in his second straight practice, a starting nickel, replaced injured Javon Bullard, went high to get it. Morgan now back outside with his helmet, looks ready to work. All crises seem to be averted. Jordan Morgan is back on the field at left tackle for a field goal period. Had gone into the Hudson Center, so that's good. Trey Smack, good from 28, 33, 38, and 43, no misses. Perfect. Again, for 4 kicks, you're kind of expected to make about 4. No super long ones, but consistency is more the issue than anything else that we need to worry about than him having a leg, which we know he does. So, don't want to say anything to jinx it, but I think we all recognize that the last time we saw him, he made all his kicks. Some of them were very, very long, and then today he made all his kicks. I'm not making any connection to that whatsoever, obviously. I'm just stating facts for no reason. Okay? How's that? I'm pretty sure I can't be blamed for any jinxes. Ryan Wood says, Wynn picks up at Ray Nitschke Field in time for Trace Mack's field goal work. Handles it fine. Makes all 4. The rookie is finding his groove. I'm not saying that. I wouldn't say that. That's crazy. Nobody says those things. Again, we're just stating random independent facts. Morgan, Watson, Golden, all with the ones in team. Our first look at 60L in a jumbo formation. It's Belton as the extra blocker. So we got an extra lineman on the line. Something that's kind of becoming common. Baltimore does it all the time. They like their extra blockers. A lot of teams do it. Packers, I think, dabbled a couple times last year. I mean, we do probably every year, which just doesn't get noticed very often. But something worth practicing. Again, this is kind of that whole evolution of football thing, right? You wanted to get smaller and faster, and now that everybody has perfected their rosters to be these small, fast rosters, the natural thing to do is now get bigger and stronger, and so the Packers are trying to get bigger and stronger, and another way to do that is just add another offensive lineman. Anyways, love to Kraft, X right there, but that connection just always feels like easy money. St. Juice currently in for Cisse. Not sure if anything happened. Don't even frickin' start. Nothing happened. They're just letting St. Juice get some work with the ones, bro. What are we talking about? Nobody gets hurt. This is what everybody knows this. What are you even saying? He just caught a pick, and he's going to be Defensive Player of the Year. That's the whole thing. So just stop it. Baron Sorrell with a heck of a pressure / sack on Love. I think he beat Morgan on the play. I'll give it to Sorrell. We'll pretend he didn't just come back injured. Love to Kraft, easy money again. Cisse getting water on the sideline with his helmet on. He looks fine. Okay. I knew that was the case all along. I wasn't worried. Jonathan Gannon, what a freak. Matt Schneidman says, Gannon just blitzed the nickel Oladapo and McKinney from the same side on the same play. Love throws it away out of bounds. The last part of that is what's hilarious, because you look at that and go, okay, well, that's interesting and crazy. It also sounds kind of stupid. I mean, it could work, but, certainly. Oh, no, it worked. There obviously was a lot of pressure, and Love felt the need to throw it away. I fully understand that this could go disastrously wrong, kind of like it did in the preseason where, again, lots of pressure, but guys were completing passes down the field all day. But I'm ready to be excited about the blitzing and the craziness and all that stuff. Jaden Reed, very active today. Another catch over the middle. Good burst by Lloyd on the run inside. Overload blitz by Oladapo and McKinney. We saw that already. Love to Golden, who plucked it on a crosser for a nice gain. Isaiah Nair, nice pluck on a ball behind him for about 10 to 12 and a first down. Taylor to Swinson on a rollout, but Swinson can't hang on. Nice coverage by Devonshire on Prather. Cisse back in with the ones opposite Nixon. It's been 25 all day with the ones. All right, let's take a break. Forgot our second break. We'll be right back. LaFleur just tore into Baron Sorrell and booted him from the drill after he bull rushed Anthony Belton into Jordan Love and knocked the quarterback down. Yeah, that'll get you ripped apart every single time. Obviously, Sorrell's completely safe in his job, but that's a big no-no. Solid drive by Love, hits Lloyd in the flat for a nice gain, then Golden on a crosser who burns past Oladapo, who just doesn't seem to have the foot speed to play in the slot. Again, nice on the pick, but generally this is a lot of what you get. Love to Kraft for a touchdown and a monster spike after. That had to feel amazing. Very active first day for 85. John Williams getting first 2 reps at left tackle with Belton flipping to right tackle. So, again, John Williams is supposedly that guy. That's a weird thing to me. Very next play after the Tucker Kraft touchdown, Kraft catches a ball and flashes the ball in Zaire Franklin's face, who takes it and throws it right back at Kraft. She's getting a little chippy out there. Matt Schneidman says Tucker Kraft has 5 targets and 5 catches with 1 touchdown on his first day back of team drills. Love finishes the sequence with a teardrop throw to Watson in the back corner for a touchdown. Ryan Wood says nifty touchdown pass from Jordan Love, waits a beat for Christian Watson to separate from Evan Williams toward the sideline, then lobs it with perfect touch to Watson in the right corner of the end zone to score on 3rd and goal from the 5. Anthony Campbell with a pressure on Tyrod Taylor, who fires for Yasmin, incomplete. Some more differences after it looked like McClellan laid into Martinez after a run. So again, pretty much every day Anthony Campbell has made a play. There's his play of the day. Just a pressure, but it's something. Ryan Wood says a second fight today. McClellan gives a hard hit on the ground on Pierre Strong, and Travis Glover takes exception. Glover walks up and shoves McClellan, who smacks Glover in the face mask. Both sidelines clear before it all gets sorted out. Taylor had Martinez on a wheel for a touchdown but overthrew him. Neiman in coverage. McCord to Prather in the back of the end zone but out of bounds. That does it for practice. Kyle Malzahn says, as I think we all noticed, this was the most intense Packers training camp practice of the summer by far. Practice number 12 goes 2 hours and 10 minutes. Only the second practice to go over 2 hours. A couple of scuffles and the return of Tucker Kraft highlight the day, says Rob Demovsky. Anywho, that's about it. So I will leave it at that, and I will talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.